All right, and here we are. It's Saturday morning, and Tasker is in the studio, and Mr. Paul Wagner is joining us on the phone here. Wags, we're just going to jump right into it this week. What's been going on, man? I feel like we just have not been on the same schedule lately.
It's been crazy. It's been crazy. Baseball season's coming to an end here for us, and then we roll into, obviously, postseason with the Brewers. But the Lake Country Dot-Hounds we're on a roll lately. We overtook the Milwaukee Milkmen. We are now in the playoff spot. So as of now, obviously there's a lot of games to go, but it's always nice to be on top rather than on the bottom at this point.
That's very fair.
But so I've been running around. I actually went with a different seed company this year. Got everything delivered. We tilled everything. And one of the questions that I'm going to pose to you and to all your buddies is that what I did is we tilled it up. I always mix it up. I go about an inch and a half, 2 inches down. I like to spin it up, turn up some new rocks. I throw it away. But I did forget to fertilize. Usually I throw maybe like a 10-10-10 out there.
Yeah.
And I like to till it up into the dirt. I forgot it. So I have my bags. I'm wondering because I already tilled it. I ran it over it with a pallet. I take my four-wheeler around. I connect a pallet on there, and I just kind of continue to cultivate it, if that's the word to use. And then I spray my seed on there. I sprinkle my seed on with a hand spreader. I like to walk around, and as I get back to the barn, I realize that I have over 150 pounds of fertilizer that I forgot to put out that I usually do prior to every step that I've already completed.
Yeah. Okay, so for everybody that's listening, this is Tailgate Talk, and this week it's a little bit different because no Tim Scott this week. He's probably off doing something with Packers, and Paul Wagner's joining me on the phone. This is Eric Tasker, and we're just jumping into it this week because Wags and I have not seen each other or talked to each other in a number of weeks now. So, Wags, my comment to you on that would be, how would that be any different? And I might just get crucified for this, but how would it be any different if you either just seeded and then fertilized over the top of it? If you seeded and you cultivate it, or, you're running the pallet over it, and then you go over it with your fertilizer, how would that be any different than fertilizing your grass in springtime?
Yeah, I see. I really don't know. I just never did it that way.
Sure.
As dumb as I am, I have it. Okay, this is what I do. I go A, B, C, D, and now all of a sudden I'm B, C, D, and I'm like, oh hell, I forgot A.
Right.
But I don't know. It probably wouldn't. But so I'm thinking maybe I just let it go for a little while. We've had some rain. I always like to get everything in before the 15th of August. So I got it in, right around that 10, 11, 12. Maybe I wait till it sprouts. Do I do it, or does it make no difference? Maybe it probably doesn't.
Yeah. And I think, timing of it probably has more to do with it than a couple of those other factors, because if you would have done it 2 or say 3 weeks ago after that big, huge bulk of rain that we got, and then we just immediately went to a dry season where we didn't even get any rain at all, timing it this week where we were really fortunate to get a good soak on Thursday, timing-wise, it's set up really nice for you. If that 15th is your date, and then the 15th all of a sudden we get a bunch of rain, you're sitting pretty good there. And I don't disagree with that. I think you could do one of two things. And I guess it's just up to you and what you have in terms of timing. But, going back out there and going over the top of it with your fertilizer and just kind of letting it soak, and with all the rain that we have been getting, getting it into the soil so that it can kind of fertilize and just get that nice, healthy, like sprouting, of course, is what you want to just start seeing. Or do you let it sit for 2 weeks, get all of the water in there, and then go over the top of it with fertilizer?
Yeah, and see, and again, this is me just thinking. When I did it, I'm like, because then I go out there, and then my seed bed, it always says it doesn't say, so I don't power drill or anything like that. Like I said,
right.
I hand spread it with the walker, and it says you just leave it on top. Yeah, you step on it. But now if I go out there with fertilizer, whether I bring anything, or even if I'm my feet, am I pressing seed below, and like, okay, let's just say my fat ass steps on a seed and
Yeah.
it goes down too far. Now all of a sudden, am I hindering? Again, I'm just probably overthinking this. I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait till I see some sprouts, maybe even a little bit, and then maybe like a week or so. So I'm gonna delay my fertilizing maybe a couple weeks, and
Right.
then probably do it towards
Yeah.
the end of the
So
month and see where I'm at.
if this gives you any sigh of relief here, I just looked it up quick. Is it all right to fertilize after planting your food plots in the fall? Well, Mossy Oak Gamekeeper says one food plot fertilizing tip that should always be remembered is fertilizer can be applied after planting with no problem. So that's kind of nice to know. I guess on another forum here, it's saying my best guess, in my opinion, would be to fertilize and disc first. Once you get that done, wait a week or two, and hopefully you get some rain to help work in the fertilizer, then plant, and then go over it again afterwards with fertilizer. So kind of doing a 1-2 combo where you're fertilizing, disking or tilling, and then coming back over the top after you've actually planted, be one way to do it. I don't know.
That's the way I usually do it, though. That's the way I usually do it. Before I till, I don't disc it, but I till it. And before I till it, I'll sprinkle. I'll just throw the fertilizer out there and then kind of like till it into the dirt and then wait a little while. That's how I usually do it.
Right. Well, and I think we can't forget, we've talked about it a little bit, we can't forget that the almighty kind of answer to all of our prayers for a nice, healthy food plot is something totally out of our control. We can disc it, we can till it, we can do all of the A, B, C, D, or D, C, B, A, whatever. Yep. If we're not getting rain, you're in trouble. Because,
exactly.
I mean, especially, and it's not like yours is, your food plot isn't, 50 acres. It's, it's a small, it's enough that you could maybe go over it and somehow, hook a big water tank up to the back and try and spread water over it. But, it's just not realistic. It's not something that's easy to do. And we have to just be reliant on, hopefully, the deer gods are out there and they're seeing, oh, Wags, yeah. He planted his food plot on August 12th. So August 15th, we're going to give him a healthy dose of rain.
I don't know if I remember telling you this. This was a while back, but so I did. Because my food plots are small, they're kind of you can get with about a couple acres. I think one is I tried to measure it out. It's kind of shaped formally. The one that you turkey hunt in. So let's say it's 2+ acres. The other one's probably an acre and another 2 acres. But so there's a couple, and I had to clean out my sprayer because I always spray first. And I'm like, you know what? This is a good idea. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill this up with water. And my sprayer with that little boom is it's a 30 gallon and it's got that little boom arms. And I'm like,
sure.
I'm just going to go out there and water it. I'm going to go over it. What the hell?
Yeah.
And you know what? It's tough. If you're going to do that, I would recommend buying 2 sprayers because I did have a little bit of glyphosate or whatever I used to kill in it, and I didn't use Arrest. That Arrest, that recommended for killing weeds, but it lets your clovers and everything and survive. And I wasn't using Arrest. I was just using a regular weed killer that I picked up at Fleet Farm, and
sure,
a 53.8, whatever my glyphosate, whatever the percentage was.
Yeah, I remember you doing that last year.
Yeah, and you think you clean it out, and you go over there and you think, hey, I'm going to do this food plot a wonder. I'm gonna water it myself. I'm gonna play the good Lord, and it didn't work because there was still killer in there, and I think I hindered the whole development of that whole plot over there on the north side.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, and sometimes you overthink some of those things, or you overlook some of those things. Not overthink it, but. I think about that when I have a little sprayer at the house, and we were doing. I had just poured our patio a couple months ago, and I don't know, I heard this, and I knew this from back when I was working in the trades and I was on job sites all the time, that instead of actually putting like a special lubricant that you go out and you buy for your forms, people will just spray diesel fuel on their forms, on the 2x4s or on whatever boards you're actually framing out, whatever you're working with. And I had it in my sprayer. I was out there spraying it because I wanted to make sure that it adhered really well and that I had a nice coat so that when I started to break off the forms, it wasn't going to be a problem and I didn't have any stick there. So I fast forward 2 months later and we're spraying weeds. I'm like, boy, this does not smell like weed killer. I'm like, well, I guess diesel fuel would probably do it. It's probably not the right way to do it. But, yeah, you just got to keep track of some of that stuff. And I don't know. It happens. And then, what do? You just try and recover from it. And I don't know. Then you got to till it up. You till up, 4 or 5 inches and hope that helps. But I don't know. It is what it is sometimes. You live and you learn, Wags.
Yeah, so that's what we did. Remember, I don't know if I remember telling you that, but so we did. I said, you know what, I'm going to start over. I know it's late season. I'm going to start over, till it up again, and then try to just do as much as I can and just throw a surface like a no plow, just like something like throw and grow or something on top of it to get some type of attractant.
Yeah. Well, good. All right. So kicking things off, just jumping right in. I love that. And I'm glad that we're catching up here again. So we're going to take a quick break. After this break, I've got a couple different things that I wanted to just, kind of pick Mr. Paul Wagner's brain about. And I pulled a few different articles, but hey, it just feels good that you and I are chatting again. And boy, we're like not even a month out from deer season. So we're kind of ramping up on a really quick pace here. And we'll dive into more of that when we come back. So this is 97.3 The Game, and you are listening to Tailgate Talk. All right, and we are back. I love these commercial breaks because we get a little chance to just kind of talk off the record and be able to just kind of catch up about some of the things that we've been going through. And we talked a lot about the rain in the first segment there. Wags, you've been talking to some of your guys that have been out fishing and just what it's done for that. And not only is rain good for us as we're prepping food plots and trying to get, pattern some deer, but it's also been doing some things for the high water on some of our local lakes and some of the lakes around the state. What have some of your guys been saying about that?
It is. It's kind of crazy. I'm used to the river fishing and stuff, but the guys that have been around here and they're lake fishing, the bass, I guess, I don't know. I always thought it was water temperature. Obviously, the levels and the depths do obviously influence patterns, obviously fishing, where the fish can go, how deep they can go, where they settle in. But the high water that has been coming up recently, the guys have been killing the bass with the top water baits, and they've been killing the panfish as well. So they've been finding those holes, and maybe as that water level comes up, again, me as a layman doesn't know, the water level comes up, maybe those holes and those spots that they used to hit now become a little deeper and a little bit colder. So maybe the panfish are down there, maybe the smallies are there, they're bouncing leeches, they're doing a lot of live bait, they're catching them. And I just thought that with the rain and stuff, we look at it as food plot and deer and whitetail and everything like that, and turkey production, but also with the fishing world as well.
Yeah. It's I've just been killing the muskies, me, big muskie angler here. I'm glad that we were able to catch up about that and just talk. But it's been interesting, just seeing some of the like riverways and waterways and just how that's kind of like elevating slightly, but we could use a little bit of it now after it's been a few weeks that we haven't had the rain. So it's been kind of nice because I even feel like my yard. I was just thinking the other day, I think it was like Wednesday, I said something to Sherry. I'm like, I think we need to water. When are we ever going to get rain again, for crying out loud? It's like everything looks so burnt and it looks so frail kind of. And, it's something that we need, and when we get a ton of it, we don't like it, and when we don't get any of it, we don't like it. But, that's so great to hear. I haven't been out fishing as much as I've wanted to this year. I'm good for probably a half dozen or so times that I'm able to get out. Most of the time, it's just taking the kayak out and bringing the fishing pole with. It's been kind of an interesting start to summer, So
speaking of that, I haven't talked to you in a while, and maybe you did pick it up last week when I was still out of town. How I know you must have talked about it, but please enlighten me. How is the thumb? How was your muskie fishing expedition? How are you healing, and are you ready to pull the bow back? I guess that's where I'd like to go real fast.
Yeah, well, I have been pulling the bow back, so things must be going all right. Yeah, it's interesting. I'll have to send you a picture of it. I would say it's probably, now we're at like 2.5 weeks, I think. Well, I guess Saturday, so Saturday, it would be 3 weeks since it actually happened, since that fateful day in the chain of lakes up north. So last week, Saturday, I did end up going and shooting for the very first time, and I was a little nervous because I got my stitches out last week, Tuesday, which was 10 days, and I did still have, I still needed to keep it covered, and it was just very, very tender still, and it still has a little bit of tenderness to it, but I feel pretty good. I feel like I can't overstretch my thumb still because there is still some scabbing there, but I feel pretty good about it in the sense that I'm able to draw back, and I don't know if you remember this, but I had been, for a number of months, I was even looking at going to a thumb release this year because I've fallen into this marketing trap of you shoot more consistent, you have less kind of wavering when you actually pull the trigger, there's less of a punch with it. Well, I'm glad I didn't do that because I would have been delayed another week or so to shooting, and I never ended up going down that route. So the only thing that I do feel is because I still have an index release and it straps around my wrist, is that I feel a little bit of push from the wrist strap moving, kind of pushing on my thumb, like the meat of your thumb there. So I still get a little bit of that, but it's not anything that's hindering me in any way, shape, or form from actually shooting. But I did go out. I shot at one place on Saturday last week, and I shot probably about 40 arrows or so. And my biggest concern that I had was actually pulling arrows out of targets because I just don't have the total grip strength back yet. So I was very cautious, or I was very conscious of what kind of targets was I shooting in, because some of those targets are really hard to pull arrows out of. So my thought was, I'm just going to shoot at the back wall where they've got the big block targets that are the nice soft foam that you can easily pull arrows out of. And so that's just kind of what I did. And it was kind of nice to do that because it was nice, A, just to know that I was going to be able to pull the arrows out, but then B, actually just to get some reps in. So
And that was the first time you've been to that place, and an invite, and hopefully we can elaborate on that later because I like those people over there. I hope you had a great time, and I liked it. I really do like it.
Yeah, and so I have my target at home, which is a kind of a newer target for me. And what I did, I was going to send you this too. I was going to tell you this. So you've been to my place, and we've got that big outlot in the back. And right now, you'd be shocked to see how tall that grass is. It's got to be 6 feet tall of that wild grass that they let grow kind of out in the open common area. And so what I did was I took the mower and I cut a 6-foot wide lane about 15 feet back so that I can shoot out to 45 yards in the backyard now.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And one of the first comments that I got when I sent it to my cousin was, are you really sure you want to be shooting with all that behind that? And I said, well, I mean, I'm not going to have the luxury of not having pressure when I have a buck standing in front of me, so why wouldn't I put myself in a pressure situation here? So we'll see how it goes. I have not gotten my target out and actually shot in the backyard yet. We've just had a lot going on. So, but it has been nice because I've made it a point to actually get out and shoot once or twice a week now. I don't really know how much hunting I'm going to do really early season, but I do know that I want to be ready. So if there's a cold snap or something, or if there's something that's kind of coming with pressure and, a number of those variables that we often look for when we want to go sit in the woods, I'm going to take advantage of it. There's no doubt about that. So I just want to be ready. and know that when the timing is right, I'm going to be able to just go out and I'm going to be confident in what I'm doing. So, so I've been shooting. Mr. Wagner, have you been shooting?
I have not. I haven't been able to get out. Matter of fact, you gave me those 2 bolts but I'm not gonna obviously. I mean, I shouldn't say obviously, but I think with the crossbow or with that Raven, I like it. I don't practice enough with that.
Sure.
I would say, maybe like a 5-to-1, a 7-to-1 ratio. And I shouldn't say that. I should say a 14-to-2 because I probably shoot my compound. I shoot the Matthews probably 10 to 12 times, where I'll pull the Raven out and the crossbow and probably shoot it only twice.
Yeah.
So again,
just to know that everything's still there, your scope didn't get knocked or. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't like that because I'd like to practice a little bit more with it. But I think you fall as human nature plays. You just think. And I think a lot of guys take that into gun season too, prior to, Thanksgiving and stuff. I think you shoot it once or twice and you're like, okay, it's just, I'm shooting a gun. I have my scope. I got my crosshairs. Right. Everything's online. Boom, boom. Here's 2 or 3 rounds. I'm good to go. And I think that's the mentality I take with the crossbow, unfortunately. But then with the compound, I'll have it set up and I have it stacked double just in case. I like to start down. I always start down because I don't like shooting over. And when I shoot over, I'm so upset with myself because obviously when I thump and that animal drops 8 inches and I get so frustrated. Right. So I'll double mine up and I start low and work up. And I kind of simulate that with pitching. I like guys that'll work down in the zone and then they can work up, because if you're working up, you're probably going to get hit a lot. Also with in and out, I want you to throw strikes and then go away from that. Whereas I don't want you throwing like an 0-2 pitch and now trying to find the strike zone. It's a lot easier to find the strike zone and move out of it. Sort of like with me with shooting my bow. It seems like if I can find the hard zone or my hot zone, if I miss a little bit off, that's the way I like to play. But I hate shooting over animals. Hate it. Right.
So one of the things that I was going to bring up with you is just a couple like little tidbits, as we're just less than a month out now from the opener. And exactly a month from today, August 17th to September 17th. How about this for a couple of wrinkles that I'm going to throw at you? And I know we talked about this. I can't remember where you stand on it. So I'm going to throw you a couple of dates for moon phases here, which, I'm a proponent of it. I can't remember if you are or not. So I was just saying, okay, I'm not going to probably hunt early season that much unless it actually works out or there's something to be looking for. Super full moon, September 17th, 3 days after the opener.
Really?
So that makes me think I'm going to be hunting early season now. And then we have a partial lunar eclipse on the 17th as well, visible in the greater metro Milwaukee area. Then we go 2 weeks later, and we're going to be in a micro new moon. So that's like basically like a blackout, I believe, October 2nd. So that's early October. And then we don't even get one of those big moons at the end of October. Like I'm thinking like 25th or later of October and into November. We don't have any of those mega moons that we always look for. The last one during the hunting season, or like the prime kind of peak season, we have a super full moon on October 17th as well. So it seems to be a little bit earlier, because I had in my notes last year that we had one on November 8th, which was really just so money for timing with the rut. Hearing that, does that kind of change your outlook on what you might be thinking in terms of maybe vesting a little bit more time in the early season versus kind of waiting until the rut? Or are you still kind of, I'm going to just wait for last week of October, first week of November?
I kind of do that. I didn't know. Remember when they had that little spinner thing you could buy, and it gives you the red moon, and the red moon is the time to go. And this is I harvest 200-inch bucks every red moon. Right. I tried to follow that one time. I spun it around, and it gives you it gives you your region. It's not like it says. It doesn't say, okay, this is southeastern Wisconsin. It gives you your region, and I follow that a little bit. I think the best thing for me to do and what I do is I just follow weather. I try to hit the cold snap trying to hit that. And I think that's old school with everybody. Rather than trying to chase moons and spin calendars and find out what the dates are and says this is the best time to hunt and this isn't. You know what? It's all depends on your hunting property, whether it's public or private, I believe. Whereas my property is mainly an afternoon hunt. And sometimes it'll say,
sure,
get out there in the morning, get out in the morning. Well, you know mine, how it's set up. The egg fields and the bedding area, my place is that in between, right before the night egg fields. So they'll come in there, they'll bed down, they'll sleep, they'll meander around. What did we say? They stop 5 times to eat or whatever.
Right.
Mine is usually one of the last stops right around that shooting time, a little bit before shooting time, and then they'll stroll into the egg fields. So yeah, I strictly go with the temperature. I like the temperature drops and stuff like that, and that's how I hunt.
Well, and I think that it's just another one of those, to take it back to what you were saying about your food plots, is it's never just one thing that kind of makes it happen. And you know what? Even if there were 10 different factors, we'll say, I think there's like 5 or 6 that are like big ones: pressure, temperature, wind direction, moon phase, I don't know, whatever. Okay, so and time of year. Okay, so we'll say that those are the 5. Okay, so if you had 4 out of the 5, you're probably going to hunt, right? Well, the opposite side of that is you might have 0 of the 5, and you might get that buck that walks through at 6:30 in the morning when you should be sitting there, and then you're not there, and you get it on your trail camera, and you're kicking yourself because you're relying on all of these other kind of factors. So I think that any time that
does happen. It does happen. You know that. Remember the pictures I had? I'm like, what is this guy doing walking through at this time of the day, early in the morning?
Yeah, or it's like a 1:30 time frame where it's like a lot of people are thinking, oh, okay, well, I'm going to hunt, first 3 hours of the day and last 3 hours of the day. Well, I don't know, man. Deer are moving whenever they want to move, so it's not really something that you can control. You just got to be there when. Yeah, and sometimes it just comes down to luck. You can do a lot of things with patterning, and you can do a lot of things with, trail cam intel and, just doing some of that stuff. But I think it's interesting that you said that as well, because I only have one camera out right now. So next weekend, me and my dad and my uncle are going to run up north, and we're going to finally get a chance to get all of our trail cameras out up there. And I just have one that I'm running down here, and I have just been thinking, boy, this is just going to be such a money spot. I feel like I don't know how to access it because it's hidden on both sides. So it's a big wooded area, big open bean field that's really, really gorgeously planted this year. And then on the other side, it's like tall grass, so really, really good bedding. And I don't have really a great way to access that. But what I've been finding is that I really only get trail cam pictures like in the first 2 hours of the day or overnight. I rarely have been getting anything during the daytime or in the afternoon. So I'm thinking, I guess I'm only going to hunt this in the morning. And then you know what's going to happen? They'll show up in the afternoon, or they'll show up at nighttime when I don't sit out there. So it's all kind of a game, and I think that's what we always come back to every fall of maybe this year's the year that I shoot that big one. It's just you never know what's going to happen.
And I think again, there's no easy way. There's no patterning. There's no way you can know where these animals are. But I think if you're secluded in private in a large tract, maybe let's just say northern Wisconsin, and you're talking large parcels, I think you can. And again, everybody's going to say, no, you can't pattern animals that way. But when you come down here and you're talking 68 acres and then another 23 that it's surrounded by so much. There's farm machinery moving. There's people moving.
Yeah.
People get kicked up. There's walking trails. There's cars. There's noise. Yeah, they get accustomed to that, but there's so many things that can alter or move or force an animal to move in a different direction down here, whereas up north it seems to be a little bit in these larger parcels, a little bit more quieter, let's say, and it
Right.
becomes routine. They go from bed to feed to water. And I'm not saying that it's that easy to pattern, but it seems to me that it would be easier because randomly here things can happen. A loud noise, a quick tractor, a run through the field, a pulling of rocks or something, picking up hay bales. Like my neighbor's got these stacks now. He just cut his alfalfa, and I know pretty soon he's going to roll them. Hopefully he rolls them, now. But let's just say he waits and he lets it dry out or something like that. And now he rolls the forks out there and picks up hay bales end of September, October. Now animals are moving different patterns around here because of the traffic.
And so you, of course, have a great relationship with all the farmers. So they send you a text message and say, "Hey, at about 2:00, I'm going to start cutting. You might want to be in your blind, or you want to be in your box blind at probably 1:30 today, huh?"
I stick my ear out the window, and if I hear a tractor fire up or something, I quick run out there.
Scramble and get out there. You just leave your boat in the blind. Yeah, it makes sense. So. Oh, I love that. Man, it's so exciting to be talking about this. And boy, here we are. We're just like so close to it now. So, all right. Well, as we always do, kind of going off on some tangents, but I think it's all really great stuff, just as kind of all the things that we're all thinking about right now. I will take a break here. I want to come back. We got to touch on sponsors, and then I do have this article that I think would be fun to just kind of talk through, and just a couple things that the National Deer Association found after studying thousands and thousands of trail camera pictures, and just some information that they found about bucks in general, but also just deer in general too. So for Tasker and Wags, this is Tailgate Talk, and we're going to take a quick break here. We'll be back in just a few. Man, here we go. Heading down the home stretch. And Wags, boy, it's like every one of these shows feels like 2024 to me, because everything here we are. We're at the end of another one, and it's like this year. I mean, I don't know about you, but it's like, holy cow, here we are. We're at the middle of August, and all of a sudden it's like we just flipped a switch, and you and I are all giddy, and we're talking about shooting our bows and getting out and planting food plots and doing all this stuff. And it's like, I feel like just yesterday I was out by you trying to shooting at turkeys, I guess. So, but with that then also comes, kind of the wrap up of your season with the Dock Hounds, which we want to give a shout out to our sponsors here. So what's going on with the Dock Hounds, Wags?
The season, it's been a long one. It's a 100-game season we play, and we are just finishing up our third year. And you kind of look at a third year of a program, any program, you want to get postseason play. So, we're still battling. We want to get into the playoffs. That would be ideal for us. That's our main goal, and it was from the start. But we have so many things coming up, and we're actually finishing the season at home this year, whereas in the last 2 years, we finished on the road due to the RNC convention, due to Harley Fest, and all those things. Being in the Oconomowoc area, right in the Paps Farms, right by Harley,
right.
We did a lot of road games during it. So we're going to finish up August at home. Again, all of our rivals are in town. Robin Yount's going to be here. If you don't know it, we just signed an agreement earlier this year with Leapin' Lemonade, which is Leroy Butler's and Robin Yount's venture together, and it's awesome. Leroy was already out at the stadium. He signed autographs. Fan favorite. Everybody loves the Lambeau Leap. So that was great. Robin will be out. He will be coaching. There'll be auctions and stuff like that. Every weekend has something special, and then we finish up Labor Day weekend with the Milwaukee Milkmen, which as of right now is our main competitor for that playoff spot. And again, it's great baseball in Wisconsin because of the fact that, we're not battling Kansas City or Dallas or something like that for the spot. We're battling the Milwaukee Milkmen right down the road in Franklin. And, those guys are great. The coaching staff is great. I like the players. I love the rivalry. And, hopefully it comes down to that last weekend, because that'll be exciting baseball, just as long as the Dock Hounds finish on top.
Right. Yeah. Well, and now is kind of that time where everybody starts to get a little excited, a little nervous, and, you just want it to all pan out, and, you want a couple of those pitchers to get you over the edge. And I'm sure you're doing everything you can to get your team in the right spot. So,
and that's what we're doing. You're right. Guys are getting released right now, but then as soon as that takes place, then we got our Milwaukee Brewers, and I look forward to obviously getting back on the radio with those guys more in depth as we do post game and stuff like that with Tim Allen and everybody, and we figure out where the Brewers are, because they're having an outstanding year. Sort of like you just said about the hunting season. All of a sudden we're turkey hunting. And the next thing you know, those guys are down in spring training with the Brewers down in Maryvale. And all of a sudden we turn around and we're getting ready for deer season. And that's kind of like with the Milwaukee Brewers. They're looking for the postseason right now, which they're definitely in control. They're definitely going to surprise some people, but it's like end of the year already.
Yeah. Which is so great. It's just such an exciting time. I mean, my dad's birthday is August 6th. And I love the 4th of July because it's kind of that like, all right, we're getting close. And then it's, the beginning of August, it's my dad's birthday, and it's almost, this is the first year in 5 years that we didn't take the trip up north to go up for his birthday that weekend, whether it's the prior weekend or depending on when it falls, that it's kind of our big like leap forward that we take into deer season, start getting trail camera pictures, we start running cameras, and doing all that stuff. But, man, it's so exciting that here we're kind of getting to that point. And, I was thinking about next weekend, I kind of teed this up that we're going to be heading up north, and what a great way to feed the crew instead of going out to the bars and, spending all of our money at the bars on food. Why don't we just stop by Bunzel's and grab one of these meat deals? So what I was thinking, the reason that I teed it up that way is I think we need to talk to them. And I think we need like a tailgate talk, like deer camp meat deal. I'm going to reach out to them, and I'm going to see if we can figure something out with that, because I think that it's something that it's like a bunch of hot sticks, it's a bunch of burgers, and it's a bunch of brats. So your hot sticks or your beef sticks that you can take out to the woods with you. It's the burgers for, after you're sitting out in the woods all day, and your brats for the next night or whatever. I just think that we can come up with something that is just a perfect fit for the hunter or the outdoorsman in all of our lives. So we'll have to do that. I'll have to go in there and I'll have to talk to them about that.
That sounds good.
So, okay. So I do want to just talk about this. We've got like probably, 5 to 7 minutes left here. So I read this article, and we're not going to have as much time to kind of dive into this, which is probably fine. 15 trail camera lessons learned from thousands of unique bucks. So they took hundreds of thousands of different trail camera photos and videos, and they compiled, the National Deer Association compiled a list of all of these 15 different things that they learned from digesting all of these different things, or all of these different images about deer. So we always, number one, first and foremost, we always focus and always think about deer antler characteristics. So that's kind of one of the things that we always look at and what makes each deer kind of stand out. Oh, this one's got a split G2. Oh, this one's got a drop tine. Whatever those things are the things that stand out the most. But when you look past that, and I think it really kind of gets to the after harvest side where you actually have taxidermy for it. But each deer, they don't all just look exactly the same. They have a lot of facial characteristics that are actually different from one buck to the next. So whether that's forehead patches, black, dark gray, light gray, dark brown, light brown, and red patches that they can kind of develop, they've got a lot of those characteristics on their head, but more specifically like on their chin and their throat patches that a lot of them have, which I think that's kind of often overlooked because, you and I are the same. We want to have a deer that's got, 30 points and 200 inches of bone on top.
Exactly. We have actually one that the girls love to watch, and we call her, she's a doe. We call her White Sox. Her back to, I think I told you about that one time when you came out last year. I said, hey, whatever you do, don't shoot White Sox, because those white feet, everybody loves to see it. So we've been following her around, but you're right. They all have characteristics.
Yeah. It's cool to see that, and until you actually get the time out there and actually digest some of those trail camera photos, that's what it really comes down to. Okay, I think it's no surprise bucks all have their own unique personalities. I don't think that's any different from human nature. Number 3, every buck tolerates human intrusion differently. So what they did is they actually looked at where the trail cameras were and how much pressure they actually got from humans, and how did the bucks actually change their interaction there. A lot of people think if you're putting too much pressure, or you're constantly pulling cards, or you're constantly going to the same seat, you might just completely blow that area for the season. Well, they kind of found out the opposite of that, because each deer is going to be different in terms of how much of that they would tolerate.
Oh.
Number 4, home ranges and core areas vary greatly, which I don't think that's really any surprise, because we may have some people that have 100 acres or 200 acres or 300 acres that they're like, well, I know exactly where these deer are being patterned. But like, take your property, for instance, where you aren't at 100 acres, but you've got enough there that you can kind of get an idea. But, once it comes to the end of October or early November, all hell breaks loose, and then suddenly you are kind of thrown into this mystery of, are they going to show up? Are they not going to show up? How much are they traveling? And when they started to do some of that, they were seeing that some deer were covering, miles a day, where they were getting cameras, one spot to, hundreds and hundreds of yards away, that were also picking up that same deer. So sometimes that's where it just kind of matters to be on those trails and to be in between where they're kind of traveling to and from.
And I like that one. That one is huge for me with a smaller parcel.
Right.
I try to put it in those travel lanes where, I can, where the doe trails are up to your food plots
right.
and to your feeding areas. And those bucks have a tendency to cross those doe trails. It's nice to put that, because even though you don't get to harvest that buck, I get to see the pictures of it, because you can see it at random times where those bucks are cruising that you've never seen before. You know what? You got your normal ones that you see all the time, but all of a sudden you get a random show up, and that's a nice surprise.
Right. Number 5, whitetails come and go. So I thought this was interesting, and I think the one biggest point out of this entire paragraph about this is, we all know that deer will come and go. We've seen deer once on camera, and we never see them again. I think where it becomes interesting is when you're deciding whether to give a deer another year or not. If you've never seen this deer and you're sitting in the stand and you're like, holy cow, that's a nice deer, that might be the only time that you see that deer. It kind of makes you think differently and just kind of take a pause to sit back and reflect on that and say, I don't know, maybe that's the one. Maybe that's the only time I ever see that deer. And it might change the way you're thinking about it. But you got to be pretty in tune with what you have on your property at the same time with that. It's not just something like, oh, yeah, I haven't been running cameras, and all of a sudden I just see a deer. But I think you and I are pretty well in tune with what is happening where we're hunting, so we kind of have an idea. If you see something show up that's just not normal, you're probably taking the shot.
That's funny, because I was just thinking as you were saying that, I'm like, you know what? And not that they're your pets, but it's like, okay,
right.
I see this guy all the time. I see him. These guys come in. This doe comes in. She's always here. They come in, and then all of a sudden you see the random guy, and you're like, that's the one I want to take, because he's not my pet. These aren't my pets, but they're my locals.
Right.
I don't want to take the locals. I want to take some random that just shows up November 2nd trying to look for a date on my property.
Yeah, we know that those are sticking around. What about the random one that just shows up here?
All right, so he comes from the bad side.
So we've just got like 2 minutes to go here. So I'm going to just drop a couple of these. So number 7, video beats photo mode, quote, usually. Now, what I like about that and why I have been running video mode on my camera that I've been running so far is you're not only getting the intel of what direction are they actually moving, but you can see the entire travel path for where that deer's going. Perfect example is yesterday I had a buck show up. I got one video, and then 2 minutes later or whatever, I had another 2 deer show up, and I didn't realize it, but off in the distance in the haze, all of a sudden I see antlers pop up, and I'm like, that's the first video. That's the deer from the first video. So you can see it hanging around, and what I saw was it's browsing in there. So it found something that it likes, and it'll probably return to that area then.
Is your life though?
What's that?
Is that video mode? Is that killing your battery life? That's the only thing that I always fear.
So I ran a rechargeable battery this year in my Moultrie camera, and I've had it out there. I've probably gotten 60 to 70 videos, and I've probably gotten 500 photos. Yesterday was the first day that it went off of 100% battery life. I could not believe it.
Okay. Nice to know.
Okay, the last thing I'm going to throw at you, antler size peaks around 6.5 to 8.5 years old. So if you do have a couple of those bucks that are walking around out there, Wags, that you haven't quite notched your tag with, you just know 6.5 to 8.5 is when they really, really maximize their antler growth. But conversely to that, most deer don't make it past 4.5 years. Hunting or predation, either one of those kind of limit the age length.
Yeah.
So
I would agree with that. And when we see them all, I hate it because you get them on camera, and then when you got surrounding properties, and then you got to go celebrate. And we've talked about this in the past. Yeah, I go over by Chad's house, or I go over by, and I'm always celebrating. They always got the big grin on their face because they have the big buck, and I'm like, I have pictures of that buck, and why didn't I get it? I'd love to buy you guys a beer and drink with me and celebrate.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right, well, we're going to cut it there. It's been another week of, me and Wags just kind of chopping it up, getting really excited for deer season. And, I think next week we might have an interview, but we've got a lot of stuff kind of in the works here, and we're kind of just full speed ahead right into deer season. So if you missed any of today's episode, make sure to go back and listen on the iHeartRadio app. Just search for Tailgate Talk. Otherwise, for Wags, this is Tasker, and this is another episode of Tailgate Talk.